Hello, and welcome everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. If you can, just leave a note in the comments. Let us know where you're joining from. We want to know how far this live stream is reaching. So we're going to watch our puppy here jump up and show off for the next about 4 minutes as we just do some final preps for the show. Again, put a note in the comments. Just let us know that you can hear us. Looks like we have 4 people in here. Welcome, welcome. I wish I knew who you were. Who are you guys? There's 5 people in here now. Who are you guys? If you could, just put a note in the comments, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Periscope, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on our website, whether you are on our Facebook page, our Facebook group. Where are you coming from? I want to know, guys. So where are you joining from? In the comments below, are you in Ohio? Are you in the North Pole? Which, fun fact, we actually shipped an order to the North Pole yesterday. So I'm pretty sure Santa shoots Sony, because it was a Sony lens that we actually shipped up to the North Pole, and it got, I think it was like scheduled to be there like in 2 days, which is pretty amazing. It also explains why Santa can deliver all those presents so fast. I mean, from the North Pole to Cleveland, Ohio, I mean, 2 day on I think it was USPS. But hey guys, we have a couple people joining us. So hello, Jim. The tin can and string are reaching me just fine from Wadsworth, Ohio, right down the road from me by about 20 minutes. You could almost, if we didn't have a coronavirus going on, you could be part of my live studio audience. Eeyore waves. He's a man of many words, this Eeyore guy. He's actually going to be the one monitoring the chat for us. Eric Woody, I can hear you on Facebook from Elyria, Ohio. Thank you for joining us, Eric. We appreciate you being here. We are going to get started here in 2 shakes of that dog's tail. Hello and welcome. Trista Wright, hello. I'm on Facebook from Willoughby, Ohio. How's it going today? I just want to let everybody know kind of what we're doing today. We're going to be talking to Ruben from Westcott, and we're going to be talking about setting up a studio in your living room. So we're not saying that you should invite a bunch of people over right now. You should definitely, maintain your social distancing. But after this, it's a really good presentation, just how you can light and get a clean background in a small spot. So join us. We're about almost 2 minutes away from getting started. Hello from Lorain, Ohio. Navarro Photography 1. That is, I'm checking Instagram now. I can hear you on IG. Hello. I want to say it's Levy1980. It looks like we got a couple people joining us on Instagram. Hello. I will be monitoring your questions on Instagram, but I don't have a way to put your name on the screen. I'm sorry. I'm using 2 different programs and they don't really talk to each other that way. But I will be joining, or I'll be checking for any questions that we have there. Hello, Bald Photo Man. He is coming at it. Oh, that was our speaker from yesterday. He has so many Instagram accounts. Hello, welcome. Welcome, Nick Bolin. Welcome, Giga Graham. Welcome. Who else we got here? Jessica. I can't see the rest of your name. I'm sorry. Jessica to the... I can't see the rest. I'm sorry. Levi1980 still here. Pedal Stomper Productions. Hello, welcome over on Instagram. If you can, head over to facebook.com and just do a search for Pixel Connection, or you can just go to live.thepixelconnection.com. If you do have, if you don't want to stay on Instagram, if it's more comfortable. One thing I will warn you, I don't really know. This is our first time streaming to Instagram in this fashion, so I apologize if the ratio is off. Again, we're trying to get to as many people as we can to have our kind of lunch and learn. So just bear with us. How's my audio sound? Who's been here before? Jim Summers, Eeyore, does the audio sound better? I'm trying a new mic, so I want to know. How's the audio sound? Looks like we got a lot more people joining us. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you being here. Here we go. Time is up. Good morning, everybody. Almost afternoon. It's 11:59, and I am so excited to get started. I've been switching my routine around a little bit just based on these live streams because I have a lot of prep that I have to do in the morning. So what I've been doing is I've been getting up super early, getting my yoga in, my running in, and I have all this energy at noon for you guys. So I'm doing everything that I can to make this fun, entertaining for you guys. So if you're just joining us, please comment in the comments below just where you're joining us from. I want to know how far this is going, and then we'll highlight you up on the screen. Jim says it sounds good, richer, if that makes sense. It does. Thank you. I'm actually using the Rode NTG USB mic, or NT USB microphone. So before I was doing lavalier mics. Now I'm trying to upgrade the quality for you guys. So welcome everybody. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining. If you are a regular, welcome back. I appreciate you spending your time here with us today. So I want to just talk a little bit about just some housekeeping notes as we get started. So number one, my friend Eeyore, he will be monitoring the chat for us, and I'll be monitoring the chat as well. So if you do have any questions that come up, please reach out, and we will get those questions answered, whether it's myself or whether it's Ruben. We will get started, we will answer those questions for you as soon as possible. I want to let you know that we are still open at the store, and we are here to serve you. Our hours are 1 to 5, and we do offer curbside pickup during this time. So basically what happens? What is curbside pickup? Basically, you're going to pull up. You're going to be super sketchy as possible. You're going to flash your lights. You're going to give a weird signal, or just call the store. I mean, you can just give us a call. We're inside, and we'll bring your stuff out. You just pop the trunk. You don't even have to talk to us. And we won't take it personally. I promise. We understand that a lot of our customers are used to just hanging out at the shop, chit-chatting with us, and we love that. We want to know how you're doing because you guys are super important to us. But in this time, it's important that we all stay healthy and we maintain our distance. So we can just put it in your trunk for you. Even employees. So yesterday, an employee stopped by to get something, and with the same thing. I walked out, put it in his trunk. We didn't even talk, hang out. We weren't close at all because we are trying to do our part to stop the spread of this virus. So we do have curbside pickup or online. I mean, you can just go online to our website and it'll ship right to you. So we are still shipping all your photography items, if you will. So our goal is to do this every day at noon, and we've had a pretty good track record so far. So our goal is to do this and share content with you. I have a whole line of speakers lined up for the next couple weeks, and I'll share those kind of at the end of the presentation so you know what to expect. But if there's something that small business association, like those loans and stuff, and I'm not qualified, but I promise you that I will find, I'll reach out and try to find someone that knows what's going on with some of that small business stuff. So another thing too about note about the PPA. So the Professional Photographers of America are doing a awesome kind of, it's not like a giveaway that you have to win. They're just opening up their doors to let all photographers take advantage of their awesome content. So head over to, I put the link there. You could just do a search for Corona and PPA, and there's a ton of free classes, a ton of free resources, whether it's business. It's not just creative. It's not how to take a photo. It's how to set up a photo business on top of the creativity. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So you can go along with a senior session or a wedding, or they do shootouts. There's just a ton of awesome content that I watched a lot of it when I first started out on my photography journey, and it helped me grow exponentially faster. So I urge you to check out that resource. It's a great thing that they're doing this for free. So what are our goals for today? So the goals for today are pretty simple. Number one, I want to pull you away from the fear, uncertainty, and the doubt, the FUD as it's called, because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control. So my goal is to talk to you, and let's talk about the one thing that we can control, and that is our awesome hobby that we have. It's this hobby of photography. We all enjoy it. That's why we're here. We are photographers, we are creatives. So my goal is to pull your focus over here and just talk a little bit about photography, maybe learn something new. That is 100% my goal, is to get you outside of your comfort zone. Maybe you haven't thought about trying studio lighting. You've always shot natural light, or maybe you want to, investigate a new area of photography. Like for me, I'm like really into fitness. I have like not really into it, but it's a big part of my life. But also with food, like we're going through the Whole30 challenge right now. So I've been reading a ton, watching a ton of videos on food photography. I'm not a food photographer. I'm a portrait artist that does a little bit of landscape as well. But I want to get better food photos. Like I want my food photos to be like boom. And what would be really cool for that is if I got so good at food photography, maybe someone would hire me in the future. And that goes the same for you. So if we talk about a concept and you are just totally geeking out on it, and you turn that into a business, that's what I look at success as. That means I'm doing my job to get you excited about something, and something that could be profitable in the future. If you do want to see any resources, you can definitely hit me up, social@thepixelconnection.com. And I'm going to leave this up here just for a second so you can see that. You can see that email, screenshot it, take a picture of it, whatever you need, and we can make sure that we send you all the slides that we have. So I'm going to go over to the comments real quick. We're going to go over and see who's here. What's up, TJ? Hello, Tech Gear Talk. How we doing today, buddy? Mike Amico. Feed looks good, TJ. Well, thank you. I'm going to jump over to Instagram, see what we got going on over here. Hi from Lorraine. Hello, hello. Jessica Levi. So we got some people joining over there as well. So thank you, thank you. Switch to Facebook. Where do I find these classes? So we do classes every single day. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, or if it was the PPA one. So I'll jump back to this PPA slide just in case you were talking about the PPA stuff. So PPA, you can just go to that ppa.com/inittogether. I would probably just do a Google search for PPA and then in it together, just because there's like weird capitalization and stuff. So yes, PPA. So yeah, that's where the free classes are that you can take advantage of. So let me go ahead and get this minimized here, and let's see if Ruben is okay to join us. There were some storms that were hitting the Austin area, so he said that his Wi-Fi is a little sketchy. So let me just see if he is in the stream. Just bear with me for just a second, guys. Just a second. So in the comments, while we're waiting, if you could just let me know what are you lacking when it comes to lighting and portraiture. I want to know, what questions you guys have. What if there was one thing we could teach you in this? What would that be? What would that look like? And I'll be honest, if for some reason Ruben is not able to join us, I will jump into a lighting presentation. So just bear with us. He's been in the chat with me, and he joined the stream with me, but then he just fell out, of course. So can you rejoin? And again, everybody is live streaming right now, so we appreciate you sticking with us, guys. Let me just resend him this quick email. And again, if something happens, we will reschedule this live stream to another day at noon. It looks like everything's up on our end. He's just unable to join. He's getting some errors, so just bear with us. That would be awesome. And like I said, comment in the comment area on what you would like to learn a little bit more about. That would be super, super helpful. I need like some awesome like waiting music, like do do do. You guys probably don't want me to sing. Let's be honest. I'm gonna pull up my lighting presentation just in case. Okay, so lighting. And I will go over kind of like a lighting's basics. So I just gotta find it for you real quick. Now this is a presentation that I did when I was at Panasonic. Might have to, like I said, just stick with us, and we'll get you some type of content. I promise you that. Okay, that presentation is downloading. Perfect. I'm not seeing questions here, guys. What do you guys want to learn about lighting or a small space or Westcott? What do you want to learn? Let me know. What other live streams have you watched that have been super helpful? There's another question for you. Everybody is here. Okay, so this is downloading. Again, we're live streaming while downloading. So, oh, there's Ruben. There he is. We're going to add him to the stream. There we go. And we're back. See, nobody even noticed, I promise. It's all good, man. So welcome to Ruben. So just a little hiccup. I appreciate you guys staying with me. Like, those numbers did not drop, and that means the world to me. So thank you guys so much for hanging around. I was ready, Ruben. I had my lighting presentation ready. I was going to jump in there, and I was going to present on lighting. So maybe, we'll talk about lighting in another one, because I have it ready and raring to go. So Ruben from Westcott, how we doing, buddy?
I'm considering the situation, I think, relatively well. Happy to report that my family and I are healthy and safe.
That's all we can ask for. 100%. That is all we can ask for. So give us a little preview. So what are you thinking for today? What is the outline? What is the goal? We had mentioned that, it's for small spaces, but give us a little rundown. Like, what are we putting together? Is this going to be hands-on?
So, just so you know, I do have a dedicated space in my home that I normally shoot. Yeah. However, like so many people, my wife is now working from home and she has commandeered that space, which now means that when I want to do some shooting, I don't have that space. So I said, you know what, I could probably do it somewhere in the house, and I bet you lots of people are in the same situation. So I played around with a little space that I'll show you here in just a moment. That I can actually adequately do some pictures. I intend to redo some of my photographs for Facebook, my profile pictures for LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and I had talked a little bit about this in the pre-roll, if you will, but this is really good. It's not necessarily like setting up portraits in your living room. Like, you could totally do that. Like, that's the idea of this. But there's a lot of times when you're going to have to set up in very small spaces. I remember when I was first starting off with trying to do headshot photography, which is something I haven't really conquered yet, but I really want to. Like, I think that's an awesome business, and I think there is an awesome opportunity, especially now as people are going to be switching jobs.
Right.
And even if you have to volunteer that time to get started and build your portfolio, I think the headshot market is about to just boom after all this. But when I was doing that, I showed up at this place. It was I want to say it was a dentist's office. And I was like, okay, where can I set up? And they give me the smallest conference room possible. And I'm like, oh, I can't bleep, so I can't actually say the words. Oh, crap. What am I going to do? And had I known, like, this setup that you are about to do, like, this is perfect. It sets up super fast. It's super lightweight. Right. And two, I want to point out, right now you might be looking at Ruben and being like, this guy's going to talk about lighting, but his face is all dark. We're going to move. And I want to show you guys the end product of, he's in his living room now. Right. He's just going to shift a little bit and just watch the quality just get increased. So
right.
Go ahead, Ruben, you want to head over to the spot? What do you want to do?
And cool. So this also, just, to add to what you just said, you could easily use the same type of lighting for broadcasting live from the home if you're going to be doing this for work and fixing things up. So let me unplug some of these.
Absolutely.
We're going to take you over here.
So I'm going to go solo on the screen while he is doing that. And let's look at some of these questions. On YouTube now, better view on the TV. Good to know. Tech Gear Talk says, welcome, Ruben. Thank you for your time. That's awesome. And then Trista says, I would love to learn more about speedlights. I have a feeling it's not as complicated as I think, but I struggle with knowing what settings to use. So that's something that I could definitely cover. I mean, I have 4 speedlights here. I have some triggers. You guys want to learn about like TTL versus manual? Put in the comments what you want to know about speedlights. I think it would be cool if we talked about speedlights, modifiers, and just how to trigger them. So if you think that's helpful, put a comment wherever you're at, Facebook Live, on our website, wherever that is. I'm going to jump over to Instagram right now and just see some of the comments that we have going on. So far, we have good stuff on the PPA. Ready Light Media Waves waving back. He's actually going to be one of our presenters next week. Super excited for that. Sounds good. Nice and clear. Excellent. Well, thank you guys for letting us know over there on Instagram. We appreciate you being here with us. So let's go back. I feel like I'm a newscaster. And now back to Austin, Texas, where...
That's right.
What's that?
Go ahead and give me the screen again.
Yes,
so that
back to Austin, Texas. There we go.
So you know, what I've done is I've positioned my laptop so that you can see the space that I'm working with. And what essentially I'm working in is about 9 feet wide by about 10 feet long. It represents the entranceway to my home. Fortunate for me, we don't have a lot of stuff there, so I don't have to move anything out of the way. But what I've done is I've erected the X-drop frame, right, which is a portable backdrop. And I've put it on with a gray background. So I'm going to set that up. I wanted to show that being done so that you could see it.
And I've been a user of the X-Drop system now for, gosh, since it first came out. I remember, I think it was WPPI, might have been where I purchased the first one. But I used it for photo booths as well. So it has a lot of unique uses. So if you are setting up a portrait area in your home, like Ruben is here, or if you have a photo booth, look how easy this is setting up. And we're getting a super clean background now in just a corner of our home. I mean, if... a lot of us have, even if you're in a small apartment, like we're getting ready to move from our house into an apartment, I have plenty of room to set up an X-Drop. So you could see, look how fast he set that up. I wish I had like a round of applause cued because that was super fast.
I'll do that. And then, so the other part about it is that because the leg is adjustable in the back, it typically takes a pretty big footprint, but that leg is adjustable. So I was able to bring that back leg up and adjust it so that it takes a much smaller footprint. So now that my background's up, I wanted to just talk real quick about the light I'm going to use. I'm going to be using the bicolor Solix. The nice thing about using this, particularly in this application, is it's a continuous light, flicker-free, LED-based array. So I can shoot, but at the same time, I can do video work with it. So it's a very small, compact head that has a built-in universal rod adapter. And so I'm just going to put a softbox on that.
So while he's doing that, I want to point out he used a term called flicker-free, and I want to talk a little bit about, why is that important? Why is flicker-free important? Well, in video, we're taking several pictures at once. So, let's say we're shooting 30 frames per second. So if you have a light that flickers, when we're taking those photos, you're going to get this weird pulsing. So that's why the lights that I'm using here are flicker-free as well, because I don't want you guys to be distracted by seeing like a pulse of light. And then the other thing is, he talked about that universal rod system for a softbox. And what that means is, on the Solex, correct me if I'm wrong, Ruben, it actually spins around as well. So
that's correct.
So if you have a vertical softbox, and let's say we need to turn it because now we want to use it as a hair light, we can easily, it's built in. So that's what's really cool about that. And then another term that he used was bicolor. So what that means is you can change the white balance on that actual light. So that way you can either match your ambient or you can set all the different lights the same, lock in your white balance and be off to the races. So let's go back to Ruben and see how it's looking so far. Wow, super quick.
Yeah, it's very easy to put these on. And like I said, preemptively, I already set my stands up, so we'll cut back on time since we are under a time crunch, but it actually is pretty simple to set up. And this is what you were talking about earlier. There's the 1x3 strip, but I can turn that horizontally as opposed to vertically.
Absolutely.
So what I'm going to do in terms of this simple setup is I'm going to be using a 2-light setup. I'm going to be using a 1x3 strip as a hair light, and then I'm going to be using my 2-foot by 3-foot as my key. Now I've got it on a 10-foot stand, but I also have it, and I'll turn it this way so you can see. I also have a mini boom. This is a new product actually Westcott just announced and has been shipping over the last week. And it's a small boom that allows you essentially to be able to boom out when you need to get the stand out of the way. Once I turn these lights on, I'll be the subject. Unfortunately, I originally had a model But such is the case these days that it's difficult to get somebody to. So I'm going to kill these overheads because, as you may or may not know, you should always get rid of the ambient light as best as possible when you're shooting, because you don't want to pollute your scene, right? There's a different color temperature light outside, so I want to make sure that I'm not getting that. And the color temperature of my dining room lights are much warmer, probably closer to 34, 3600 Kelvin. So I want to eliminate that as well. I've got my H2 Pro bag, which is a counterweight bag that's filled with water. And so that'll give me some balance.
And this is super important. So I love the Hurley bags. So what he means is there's like they're filled with water. So normally you would have to either have like heavy sandbags in your car and then like load them in order to, to have the sandbags on set. What's nice about these is, you bring them in, you say, hey, do you have a faucet? Yes. And you can go and fill them up and it gives you the weight that's necessary. So the reason that you put that bag on there is to give it a little bit of a counterbalance. So, he's booming that light up ahead and you don't want it to fall on your model. I mean, that's a really bad day when your model gets attacked by your light. So if you don't have any type of sandbag like that, I highly urge you to get that. And a lot of people too, they'll just put sandbags on the bottom of their stands, but then you get this like weird Boeing stand situation because there's a ton of weight on the bottom, but then it's like leaning over. So he is demonstrating the what I would call the best way to counterbalance that light. So
okay, so now that we're there, let's put this up a little higher. And essentially I've got it boomed over center as if I was going to be putting it in a butterfly lighting pattern. The butterfly lighting pattern actually creates a little bit of a shadow at the bottom of the nose, on top of the lip, creating the shape of a butterfly. So that's my key light. Typically, if in this environment, now that I'm going to stand in this space, and just so you know, in terms of my reach, I'm about a full arm's distance away from the backdrop. So that's not casting any shadows of myself on there. I use a handheld light meter. I have for 28 years. And so I would take a reading on my key first and foremost before I even introduced any other accent lights. In this case, like I said, I'm using a strip as a hair light. I haven't yet set it up, but key first, because this is what determines my exposure. Any other light that I add, whether it be a fill light or whether it be a hair light or whether it be a background light, does not affect the exposure so long as it's not brighter than the key light, which it wouldn't be. So I'll take my reading.
Real quick, so if you've never used a light meter before, so a lot of people think that light meters are super expensive, and they're not. And the time that it saves in the long run, like especially with constant or flash lighting, so he basically holds that up to his light, or up to his chin, and if it was flash, he would hit the flash on the lights, or here he's just getting a reading, and then all you have to do is just dial that into your camera. So, I mean, it doesn't get any easier to figure out what your settings are. This is a way that you can just see, like as he's coming in here, we can see, over there we go, a little reflection, there we go. So F4 at 60th of a second at ISO...
It was ISO 400.
ISO 400. So all he did was dial in his ISO, and he got his settings right there. So now if he puts his camera...
Actually, 4.5.
Oh, 4.5. So all he has to do is lock those settings now into his camera, and he's going to get perfect lighting. Remember, this is science. I mean, it is art in how you pose and how it looks, but it is science and physics on how that light actually gets into the sensor.
So once that key is set, if I'm happy with the direction of the light, and I'm happy with the pattern, I've set my light to my camera rather to the right settings. Then I can go ahead and introduce the second light. So what I'm going to do with this second light here is, because there's actual settings in terms of numbers on the back of these units that tell me the numbers. If I set this to 100, I'm going to go ahead and set this to 50. It's going to approximate. It's not exactly. I'm going to have to read it, but I'm going to cut this down to essentially half the power. course, I'm also making sure that it's the same color temperature since they both have the capability of switching from 3200 Kelvin all the way out to 5600 Kelvin.
Excellent. And while you're moving that up, I'm going to actually grab a question here. So question, I've never used one of those, but could you set your cameras to automatic and give you the same type of information? Great question, Jen. So I guess when I look at setting up this lighting setup, especially for headshots, for several photos, is I want consistency. So if I put my settings in manual, that means they're going to be consistent photos, because if you're going out to do headshots, then you're not going to be able to, and you just have it set to automatic, it's going to fluctuate as light. I mean, you can see, like right now, for a perfect example, is his computer is currently set to auto, and you see how it keeps getting brighter and darker and brighter and darker. The camera doesn't know what you want to do. So by you putting it in and locking in the settings with either using manual or using a light meter, it'll make it so your lighting settings are consistent across the board. Also, your camera the metering could be off, so it's trying to balance the entire scene. Whereas with using the light meter, you're using a scientific tool to say, what is this light that's hitting this face? What is it set to? And then all you have to do is lock that into your camera, and it's going to be perfectly exposed every single time. It doesn't matter, what changes in the room. It's going to stay and remain consistent. So great question, Jen. Very, very good question. Thank you for asking.
Okay. So key light, hair light, and yes, obviously right now we're using the camera built into the laptop. So you're seeing a lot more than you normally would. Obviously, once you put your camera and your lens on, you're only going to be getting about this much, right? It's about a head and shoulder shot, maybe a little bit more. So you're not getting any of this in the background, or you're not getting any of this in.
So what Ruben's going to do, he's going to, we're going to post some photos, some example photos, because this is kind of hard to see, through this method. But he's going to get a couple photos, and we're going to put them kind of in the comments below, so you can get an idea of what this actually looks like. And honestly, like right here, if I were to take a photo, like I'm just looking on the screen, and right now, like it just looks really good from what he started with. So right now, if he were to bring his laptop closer, you'd kind of get a better idea of, thank you, a better idea. So you see how it just flickered there, Jen? That's the automatic issue. So it's kind of compensating, so you don't really know. So this is set to, automatic, and again, it's not like we have our optics to be able to change, but right there, look how much cleaner it got. So we have a little hot spot on the head, which it's honestly, guys, that is because of the camera on the actual laptop itself, but we're getting a much better quality of light. We're getting a much cleaner background. So then when you're also using tools like Zoom or other live conferencing tools, this gives it a clean background to wipe out. So the cleaner the background, the better off you're going to be. So what other questions do you guys have on setting up, this small portrait lighting setup in your living room? What other questions do we have? Mm-hmm. A question I have, so what if I want, like that softbox, it's just kind of throwing light in there. What type of tools are available to kind of focus that light? Like what could I put on there to focus
it? So you know what, let's just have a very general discussion very quickly about modifiers in general. This is a softbox. Most softbox throw the light at about 104 degrees. I could go with an umbrella if I wanted to do a group shot to making sure that I had a wider beam, about 140 degrees. If I want to be more focused, I could also introduce an egg crate grid. So right now the light beam is about 104 degrees, but the egg crate grids that Westcott manufactures are 40 degrees. So it's going to take it from a 104 degree spread down to a 40 degree spread. Now, typically I use this for a hair, so that would be something that I would put onto the strip so that I wasn't getting any incidental spill onto the background from the hair light, or making sure that it was really just kind of giving me a hair light here and a little maybe a rim light on the shoulder without spilling onto the cheek or to the forehead. And so that's what that's for. And I can do that for any box. So if I wanted to control this spill, I could do the same. Or we can go to like a deep parabolic which also will allow you to get a greater uh, focus on light.
So a question that came in, what about, does a speedlight setup or constant lighting work better in a small room? Jim Summers wants to know.
Okay, so the answer to that is that you'll get the same results. In fact, what I'm doing here can either be done with a speed light or it can be done with studio strobe. Of course, the power output of your speed light will have an effect on how your image looks. Most of your pro level speed lights will give you enough power where when you modify them, you can get the same results. Obviously, since we're doing video, I need to do something with flicker free, and I can't do it with a strobe or a speed light. But yes, you can achieve the same results with a speed light.
Yeah, and if I can weigh in on that a little bit too, one thing that when people buy lights, working at, in camera stores for the last several years is, there's this idea that more power, the better off you are. And honestly, for a small room, like you have to figure out how you can turn those lights down. Otherwise, it's going to overpower. You're going to be at like F22 if you have a 500-watt pack in a very tiny room. So with what's nice about constant lights is you can see everything. Like you can see exactly
WYSIWYG.
Right, what you see is what you get. So you're going to see where that light is falling on your subject. You're going to see the light pattern on their nose that kind of conveys to the user, what you're trying to accomplish with that image. So to me, I would probably look at constants. If I have the ability to have power and I don't have if I don't have to bring a generator or anything like that, if it's not like on location. Now outside, it's a whole nother ballgame. I mean, outside, you have to try to overpower the sun, which we talked a little bit about yesterday in our talk. So that's not really going to be a good fit. But in a small room, I think that the constant lights make it super easy. Let's go over here. Ready Light Media says, shooting in a studio, I'm more interested in lights with lower power than something that can overpower the sun. And this is from a lighting master, I would say. Jeff is he's going to be here next Wednesday, I believe. So, saying the same thing, like he doesn't want, 1,000 watts in the studio for a small space. It just doesn't make sense. Now, will the images look different? I think they will. From my seniors, shooting them in studio, there is a little bit of a crispness with strobe photography. But that being said, like if I was going out and doing headshots right now, this setup right here would be 100% what I would be doing.
Again, in a nice tight space. Now, my home is an A-frame home, so in the center, which is that way, it sits at 16 feet. But here at the door, it's only 7 feet. So you can see this is a 5x7. It's if I were to flush this, it would be up against the door. So I'm still in a very small. I'm actually not even utilizing the full 9x11 that I measured earlier. Now, something else I can do here, by the way, is I can add a reflector for a little bit of bounce underneath. So I've got a two-way reflector here. I've got a gold and I got a silver. Since I'm working by myself, I would probably mount it to a reflector holder. So I can add this guy in here like so. And that's a pretty simple thing to do. This illuminator arm extreme has clamps, so I can easily put this here like that. And again here. And then I can tilt it. I can turn it towards me. And again, this is not beyond the space that we originally talked about. So now I can get a little bit of bounce off of this and a little bit of fill here. So that'll kind of wash out some of the shadows that I'm getting underneath my chin ever so slightly. The other thing I want to point to, not sure if you noticed it, when I put that grid on that strip, a lot of the hot spots that were falling on here went away. So now I've got a more even background. And just to demonstrate that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that grid off so you can see. You see how much brighter this area is now? So by putting that grid on, I've made this background a lot more even. Without it, it's hot here and it's feathering to a more medium gray there. And that's the value of that grid. Controlling the spill, adding it to my hair, but not infecting the background. And this thing is only about a foot away from the background. I'll put that back on.
And while you're doing that, I'm actually going to put up on the screen just a kind of, to get an idea of what that, what having the grid on there will do. So these are some low-key portraits. So what we're doing here is we're using the grid to control that light. So you can see on either side, you know, we're getting this kind of very dramatic lighting that's in here. And that's because there is it's focusing that light. Now, there are other ways to do that, but the easiest is to put a grid to take it from that super wide into that narrow beam. Same thing like with like a hair light. Like I just want to focus that right here. Just like this light that I have in front of me, it has a grid on it because I want to focus that light on me. I don't want it to spill all over this room. I want to have directionality with that light. I want to control kind of what the viewer sees with that light. So grids are a really good tool to kind of paint on where you want that light to be. So hopefully that was
There you
helpful.
go. Absolutely. And let me make mention that because we have a tremendous amount of educational content on the Westcott website, there is actually several videos. One that specifically comes to mind that talks about the use of grids and how to control spill, as well as to kind of create that very dramatic look that you typically see in sports advertisement like Nike and Gatorade, things of that nature.
So actually, because you brought that up, I'm going to bring that up on the screen as well. So if you head over to westcottu.com, there is a ton of information, and they're not sales. Like it's not like they're trying to sell you something. You know, a lot of these are, you know, 3 ways to use plexiglass for creative portraits. Last time I looked at the Westcott catalog, I don't think they sell plexiglass. Like, so they just put all this content together for you to learn how to use light in different ways. And it's not just, you know, it's not just LED, it's not just constant. There's flash stuff in here, there's speedlight stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of everything.
That's correct. There's green screen. You know, this X drop we were talking about earlier, I'm using this neutral gray, but we also have a green screen available for it. Today, a lot of people are using green screen, particularly with different softwares that they can do this kind of live broadcasting. So that can also be used for that. You know, one thing I wanted to say was that as a lighting company, we understand that lighting is probably the most challenging thing to learn. And so we're very interested in the education of our consumers, people that buy our products, and we're interested in general of making sure that people that enter into this industry, photography, learn lighting, and they can look at Westcott as a source of information for that, because we want you to do better with the work that you do. This is why we kind of put these things together. So hopefully this has been helpful.
Absolutely. So another question that came in was, how would you integrate? So it sounds like they have some speed lights and also constant. So do you have any tips on how to kind of integrate those together?
Sure, absolutely. So if the so first of all, most speed lights, most strobes at full power are typically going to be 5600 Kelvin. When you start to lower the power is when you may start to see a little bit of a shift in the color, but in general, it's daylight balance. So if you're going to use and introduce a continuous light, if you want to make sure that the color matches, make sure that that continuous light is also 5600 Kelvin to match the speed light or the strobe. Now, there's fixes around that as well. Let's just say you don't have a continuous light that's the same color temperature as the speed light, 5600. Let's say it's 32 or 34. Well, you can get gels to compensate, just like you used to do back in the day with filters when you had a different color temperature film and you needed to compensate with a filter, an 80A or an 80B, and so on and so forth. You can do the same thing with a light. It's not perfect, but it's one way to kind of inexpensively modify that. But I would suggest that you try to match the color if you want consistency like this. Of course, you can leave the color temperature different if you're looking for a special effect, right? If maybe you want to use that continuous light to make the background warm, at 32 or 3400 Kelvin, but the light falling on your subject, whatever it is, whether it's a person or whether it's a tabletop product, daylight. So that could be something for an effect. So you can certainly mix speed lights with continuous lights. Did I lose you? Are you still there? Uh-oh, technical difficulties again, I think. Ah, there you are.
Oh, there we go. I was muted through that whole thing, wasn't I? Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. TJ, you're muted. I should probably watch this live chat a little bit more. You know, all my friends out there are letting me know that they can't hear me. I wish I read lips, taking social distancing. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to go through that again. Yep, you're on. Thanks, guys. So An awesome opportunity that we have coming up is Pixel Photo Fest. So Pixel Photo Fest is a 3-day event, the 14th, 15th, and 16th at Cleveland State University, in which we bring in the top in the industry to educate you guys. It's super cheap. Go check out the website. Just do a Google search for Pixel Photo Fest. I think it's less than $100. So for 3 days of educational content, hands-on content, as well as just camaraderie and community. That's the goal of this. We want to bring all the photographers together in the Ohio area to learn from some of the best that are in the industry. So these are a few of our speakers. So we have Vanessa Joy joining us. So Vanessa, if you follow her on any social media, she is constantly putting content out there to help you in your business. She is awesome to work with. It's all hands-on. So, we're going to be shooting, we're going to be setting up lights, you guys are going to get images, for your portfolio or just to learn. It's definitely a hands-on type of conference. Aaron Anderson, if you haven't seen his stuff, do a Google search. His stuff is just he's doing cinematic portraiture. And if you look at some of his astronaut stuff, the stuff that he's doing with the Olympic athletes, it is awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. And you'll be able to create some of those cinematic images. We're putting together a really cool kind of platform, hopefully with some concert stuff. So more on that. Stay tuned. Jeff Carpenter is going to join us, who is also in the live stream today. So he'll be joining us to talk about lighting. If you have not checked out Jeff Carpenter, look up Ready Light Media. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he puts it all out there for us. Isaac Coffey, he's in the Ashland, Ohio area, close to me, a close friend of mine. But he's a phenomenal business marketing maven, if you will. And his photography I guess it's okay. No, his photography is awesome as well. Coffee Creations Photography, he's going to be coming out and speaking. And then also Jen and Travis Stitt. So Jen and Travis are a couple from Philadelphia, and they've spoke at WPPI, they've spoke at Shutterfest. I mean, they know their stuff, and they're coming to share that with you guys. If you need a little bit more one-on-one help, we do have our virtual one-on-ones that are available. I'm also putting together, doing longer classes where you guys can, jump in and, we can do, a couple hours on lighting or video. If that's something you'd be interested in, put a note in the comments if that's something you guys would be interested in doing. If not, if you don't like the whole class thing, just do the one-on-one. We can sit down with you and solve your specific problems, not problems of everybody else in the classroom. So today we had Ruben from Westcott. Tomorrow is the Friday Focus. That's the thing I look forward to. I look forward to all these live streams, but the Friday Focus is kind of my baby. I love news. I'm a news hound. I read it all the time. And I want to kind of take that information, distill it down for you guys. You can keep tuned on what's going on, in the news as far as photography is related, but also share some tutorials and training to make you, kind of inspire you going into the weekend. Next Tuesday, we're going to have William Innes in. So William's going to be talking. He's a phenomenal wedding portrait photographer, knows a ton about business. He's in the LA market, which gives you kind of a different view, things that are working really well out there. And then finally, Jeff Carpenter, like I've already been gushing on, at Ready Light Media. He's going to be doing a live stream with us next week. So I appreciate you guys joining. If you need anything from us, our contact information is on the screen there. I'm going to add Ruben in here. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys got something out of this and felt left a little bit more inspired just how, lighting works and how you can light in a small space. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a good day.
Take care.